Is Veil of Darkness baffling pulp or straight-laced classic? Spoiler, it dresses in both outfits, velvet cloak draped over surplus flight jacket, and waltzes into your DOS-box installation with a grin that says, yes, I know my UI looks like a Victorian curio shop. Fight me. Underrated or overrated? Absolutely, in the same way garlic can be both a superfood and a social repellent. And in 2025, when your GOG backlog rivals the Library of Congress, is it essential or safely skippable? That depends on whether essential means historically pivotal or so weird no modern studio would dare replicate it. Picture Diablo in development hell, wandering through budget Transylvania, bumping into Alone in the dark's lighting tech, borrowing Ultima 7's day-night routines for NPCs, then stapling a self-updating prophecy parchment to your HUD instead of a tidy quest list. Does that tickle your macabre nostalgia center? Tighten your aviator harness because you're about to crash land inside a valley where the sun refuses to rise, the butcher is a werewolf, and a talking raven never misses a chance to roast your mistakes. Yes, the prophecy parchment is the absurd through line we'll clutch all the way to dawn. Historical context. By 1993, Strategic Simulations Inc., or SSI, needed a breather from Hex Grid Wargames and Goldbox AD and D modules. Texan boutique studio Event Horizon Software, hot off Dark Spire, 1990, and The Summoning, 1992, pitched a gothic, real-time action-adventure sewn from the same isometric tech, but dripping with hammer horror ambiance. SSI smelled crossover potential, eerie pixel blood for action fans, inventory puzzles for adventure diehards, and an audio layer thick enough to justify a Sound Blaster line item on every Christmas wish list. Contracts signed, floppy masters pressed, and Veil of Darkness hit shelves in spring 1993, its box art resembling David Bowie moonlighting as Vlad Tepes. The wider scene was mutating hourly. Alone in the Dark, 1992, had just taught polygons to shriek. LucasArts was perfecting comedic point-and-click with Day of the Tentacle. Ultima 7, 1992, proved a living sandbox could ship on 16 diskettes without burning the village. SSI aimed Veil straight between those genres. Real-time tension, point-and-click conversations, inventory puzzles, and a valley that obeyed a 24-hour cycle. If Ravenloft Strahd's Possession, still in the lab, would be SSI's licensed horror RPG, Veil was the test flight, an original IP drenched in Romanian accent marks and MIDI organ blasts. I discovered Veil via a mislabeled shareware disc, Veil of Darkness's 3D Realms, which somehow booted on my friend Carlo's 486 DX33. We toggled creature vocals off in the setup menu to free 128 KB of RAM, not realizing we'd muted the Raven's hint lines and half the monster screams. 2 hours later, we were hopelessly lost, convinced the valley had no quest markers because the game wanted to kill us psychologically. It didn't help that the prophecy parchment printed new verses only after very specific triggers. Until then, it sat silent, daring us to stumble through moonlit wheat fields, while bats wrote Morse code on our foreheads. Mechanics from crash site to curse sheet. The nameless cargo pilot, called Morgan in Manual Snippets, wrecks his DC-3 in a fog-swaddled valley locked behind mountain walls. Locals drag him to safety, mention an ancient prophecy, and unfurl a parchment scribbled in blank verse. This parchment acts as a living quest log. After each key victory or blunder, glowing letters fade in to record your next riddle. Early stanza: the beast shall stalk neath silver moon until the blade of argent doom. Translation: equip a silver weapon before confronting the butcher after dark. Finished tasks earn a new couplet. Ignore it, and the parchment remains maddeningly ambiguous. Forget clean UI breadcrumbs. Veil forces you to interpret poetic hints, cross-reference villager gossip, and map every catacomb wall with pencil and graph paper. Interface: curio cabinet chic gameplay unfolds on a 3/4 isometric grid painted in smoky VGA dusk. Left click to move, right click to attack, shift click to sprint. The inventory pane resembles an antique medicine chest. 9 visible slots with scrollable shelves beneath. Items can't be rotated, just shuffled, so garlic wreaths, wolfsbane bundles, silver ingots, and holy water flasks quickly fight for living space. Overpacking quietly slows walk speed, SSI's stealthy way of teaching encumbrance before Diablo 2 made it mainstream. Dialogue blossoms in text windows flanked by digitized portraits. Ask NPCs about flagged keywords. Cairn, curse, silver. Pick the wrong yes/no answer, and some villagers clam up until dawn resets their mood. The raven perches near key locations, squawking hint phrases that mix dry sarcasm with practical nudges. Bright metal for the butcher, feather brain. Disable creature voices in setup.exe and you'll never hear his guidance. A 1993 example of difficulty tuning by hardware misconfiguration. Combat, kite, stab, pray. Fight loops resemble proto-ARPGs. Click stab, backpedal, hope hitboxes align. Silver swords slice lycanthropes. Garlic clouds stun lesser vampires. Holy water scorches anything undead, though you'll take residual damage if the splash radius tags your boots. Health and mana bars bookend the UI. Mana fuels a modest spellbook. Fireball, heal, light. The wonderfully sinister dark sight that drenches the screen in a crimson filter while revealing hidden traps. Monsters telegraph attacks through MIDI. Bats chirp, revenants roar, spiders hiss like an aerosol can point it at a tape recorder. Combat is chunky, occasionally cheap, but deeply satisfying once you nail the kite rhythm. Puzzle pillars and fail. States, Veils, Valley of Eternal Dusk houses, fetch quests, and environment riddles straight out of a gothic D&D module. Deirdre's Amulet. A banshee's screams, shred your HP if you enter the cemetery without reforging her family amulet. Locate both halves. Convince a jeweler to solder them, then place the restored heirloom on her tombstone to unlock deeper catacombs. Dimitri's silver sword. Zombie lumberjack Andre and butcher by day beast require silver. Scavenge coins, smelt an ingot, and present a diagram to the smith who grudgingly forges the blade, citing cursed metal taxes. Natalia's cure and gravedigger's trial. Collect betony leaves and fennel seeds for the Romani healer Elena to brew a potion that saves feverish Natalia. Simultaneously scour the inn for torn shirt evidence that clears Gravedigger Ion of murder charges before sunrise. Fail the cure, and Natalia's illness kills off future dialogue trees. Fail the trial, and Ion's wrongful hanging spawns a wailing ghost that harasses you until endgame. Break sequence, and the prophecy parchment taunts you with cryptic verses, while the valley quietly locks the exit doors. The manual prints save early, save often in bold italics, treat it like gospel, or prepare for retro permadeath. Legacy and Influence Veil never cracked SSI's gold box heights, but contemporary reports place sales well south of 500,000 yet respectable. It bankrolled Event Horizon's follow-up Druid, Demons of the Mind, and left fingerprints on future RPG design. Baldur's Gate dev diaries mention Veil's day-night NPC routines as inspiration for Athkatla's schedules. Raven's Heretic mimicked its fog-soaked palette for desecrated cemeteries. The Living Prophecy parchment echoes in The Witcher 3's evolving bestiary and Hand of Fate's meta-deck narrative, so why the cult niche rather than canonical pedestal? Veil channels 90s cruelty, irreversible dead ends, scarce autosaves, and lore delivered through MIDI chirps. Plus, Diablo's loot fountains hit 3 years later, making Veil's chunky stabbing feel arthritic overnight. Marketing didn't help. SSI spent bigger dollars hyping Panzer Hex maps than Vampire Valleys. Yet streams and speedruns keep the myth alive, and the AdLib soundtrack, composers Anthony Malik, Ed Puskar, Pete Smolchik, still appears in underrated MIDI YouTube compilations. Esoteric footnote, the manual prints the real aviation emergency frequency, 121.5 MHz, as a lore flourish. Urban legend claimed entering it in Falcon 3.0's radio would spawn a Veil cameo. No proof ever surfaced, but the myth endured through a 1996 Computer Gaming World April Fool's sidebar, cementing Veil's spot in trivia hell. Closing paragraph plus score Veil of Darkness is the dusty VHS at a yard sale. Cracked case, ominous scrawl, vibes for days. Booted in DOSBox and you're greeted by pixelated hematology, baroque organ riffs, and a Raven volunteer commentator auditioning for Mystery Science Theater. Yes, the inventory fights you, combat feels like fencing in molasses, and villagers hoard grudges like grackles hoard shiny things, but the atmosphere seeps under your skin. The valley's perpetual dusk, the butcher's midnight howl, Cairn's off-screen taunts, they linger like garlic breath in morning coffee. coffee. Score, 8.5 out of 10. Half a point lost to inventory gridlock, another half to moon logic fail states. The rest awarded for unmatched gothic aura, uncompromising challenge, and that dopamine pop when a fresh prophecy stanza scorches itself across parchment, proving you pried another sliver of sunlight into an otherwise sunless world. Sometimes the darkest landscapes demand exploration, even if a vampire chews on your last quick save along the way.